Alright, I watched this one last night, but I wanted to make sure that I got it in here this morning, because you got some good numbers in this one.
First, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Time. Here's a question. What happens when you crush entire sectors of your own economy for nearly 2 years, and then, to compensate for your crime, you decide to inject trillions of dollars of freshly printed cash into the system? What happens if you do that?
Well, that's interesting.
Well, honestly, we don't really know what happens when you do that because no one in history has ever been stupid enough to
for a
try
year.
it. It's going to be years before we really understand the consequences of all this, of our government's reckless coronavirus policy. But in the meantime, we can say with total confidence that the American economy is getting very weird. Not all of it. Some of what we're seeing isn't weird in the slightest. It was, in fact, entirely predictable. If you create trillions of U.S. dollars out of nothing, U.S. dollars are going to be worth less. Much less. This is called inflation, and we're suffering through it right now. Inflation, very simply, is the result of too much money in the system. If you have too much of something, it's value, false supply and demand. Remember? This is what's causing the rise in real estate prices and of Bitcoin and of other assets that investors run to when they no longer trust the country's currency.
What shit's on the table right now?
Why can't you afford a house right now? Simple, because Washington printed too much money. No one should be surprised by this. It's a cycle as old as money itself.
He talks about unemployment numbers in restaurant. That one restaurant owner, she's like, fuck unemployment.
This leads to long-term collapse. Debasing the coinage, that's what they used to call it. For example, by the middle of the 3rd century, the Roman denarius, the silver coin, was only about 2% actual silver. The rest of it was just junk. Within a few years, not incidentally, the entire Roman Empire blew up and the barbarians took over. But it wasn't just the Romans who did this. Every government devalues its currency at some point. They do it because it's irresistible. You can't not do it. If you do it, you get free money and you don't have to raise taxes. It seems like a great idea, but in the end, every government pays the price for doing this, or more precisely, its citizens do.
Gravity
so
is a
the
tax.
current inflation, horrible as it is hardly unexpected. You'd really have to be
you never had it, you never did.
Not to have seen it coming.
It seems like a great thing
as hell
when
is our labor market.
You'd say the hurricane comes around and we get together as a community, somebody's a leader, you take a risk.
Jobs than did 2 years ago.
Maybe you benefit, maybe you don't. But that's where it's got to end at that point in time because, look, we didn't plan for the hurricane. Well, we planned for sunny days and regular systems. And then the numbers don't add out to how long you have to wait back on days off. I mean, that's fine.
Shortage of labor and
labor, McDonald's will send somebody home.
In some places, businesses have shut down because they can't find employees.
And now they had more employees than they ever had before when I was a kid. You know, and they'd send you home. You know, not enough employees. Doesn't matter if you were one of the best employees or not.
That does not make sense.
Fucking brother was manager.
How can that possibly be happening? And again, we're going to be honest and tell you we're not entirely sure how it's happening. No one is entirely sure. But we can tell you it's definitely not natural.
No.
This is not how markets are supposed to work. This is not a good sign.
Sure isn't.
If you were running the country and you were a responsible person, you'd be very concerned about a trend like this. But our leaders don't seem especially concerned. Consider Lisa Cook. She's a professor of economics at Michigan State University. Cook has advised Joe Biden on economic policy. She's now considered a shoo-in for an appointment to the Federal Reserve Board. So soon, Lisa Cook will be one of the people in charge of fixing this mess. How's she going to do at that job? Well, the early signs are not especially promising. Not long ago, Cook and other faculty members at Michigan State
I swear, if anybody's got a fucking degree, they'll fucking clean the first thing that they got. It doesn't mean they're any good.
Turns out food service staff weren't showing up to work. Why? Well, partly because of the economic policies that the White House had enacted on the advice of Lisa Cook.
So, Ted.
And as a result of that, the cafeterias desperately needed faculty to pitch in and help to feed
Like I said, you guys need a union boss and something down there that can do it.
And yet,
so
as
this
far
will probably be our
know,
notes for
Lisa
today.
Cook, despite
we'll
her
talk
perfectly
about
suited last name, did not help.
I guess how employment and unemployment work here.
Now, in case
you can still be employed in this company, but be unemployed.
They're not pitching it. The number of Americans who have
it's usually the time work fraud case numbers where it starts to pass the Pens row.
Now, none of these people, according to the government assessment,
like I said, you want to create a black body problem.
Why?
If you're definitely on that index of something that is below the performance rating, averages inside there, even if it's below or above the tomb, you still want to get rid of it because it produces bad habits in the crew you have. It doesn't matter. You need averages. The winter's coming around. We want to get that rib done. We want to make sure that that's stacked up in front. We don't want to just be that kind of crew that's like, oh, we got all this extra, we could take time. Yeah, but it doesn't last forever. bad days happen.
It's not good for the national character. For
shit
example,
breaks.
healthy societies value work.
And you have to stay on top of it. You know, that's what makes that thing what it is.
In the short term, as an economic matter, this is
taking rock on top of Gustin's and doing these things. Now, I'll tell you the first reason I've left a lot of those places. Lots of reasons I don't stay. You know, you're going to be doing paperwork like that. They don't respect it and things like that. Never have any conversations about it. Don't fucking talk to their crew about nothing. And on the other end of that stuff, you got to be like, look, is this for me? You know, you go try to do drug and alcohol or something, and they just shut you down as a resume. You know, you go to director workforce in Delhi trying to get something. You say, here's my resume. They come back and nothing. I mean, you sign obviously for director of information technology because that's what I was doing, but they don't even give you any other options. There's not like none of the things in here that you do. What jobs do you have? Is this resume? And it's just a joke. Fucking joke.
So why is this happening? And
then you get a criminal record, it doesn't matter anyways.
Everywhere. No
and then, what, AR-670-1 for board presentations on stuff, they won't even let you sign up to the military.
Government put out some really destructive policies.
It's like, man, I've just been a laborer my whole life. I've just been working. I went to school. I was a regular student. Had a pot garden. You send...
I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're short-staffed. Please be patient with the staff that did show up. No one wants to look to work anymore. They would rather draw unemployment.
So you get to the mill and you just run fucking camps 4x6s all day.
I'm tired of all of it. Quit giving all this unemployment. They're getting unemployment. They're getting the stimulus. Why work? They make a lot of money.
Look, I'm sure she makes a lot of money
just so
too.
They can get unemployment.
But you can't take it from nothing.
So
at least if you're going to take it from something, you know where it's coming from there. And you can see the cost on things, you could do the math.
All the time. You hear a lot.
You could at least get your inches in on that.
The International House of Pancakes in Wasilla, Alaska, not always possible to get pigs in the blanket. Why? Well, here's the message posted on its front door. Due to the fact that Biden gave out way too much free money and nobody wants to work anymore, we are forced to reduce our hours during the week.
Well, I mean, he's a killer. He's the kind of guy that treats me like Toby I am.
At times, over the past 2 years, some people are making much more from government unemployment benefits.
Like, you need some union bosses from time to time. You need some of that
stuff. One analysis found that thanks to the so-called CARES Act,
they get big, you let them do their thing,
doubled their
and then you remind them, hey, boss.
When they became unemployed.
Hey, boss.
The government was literally
you can't shoot people around here. You just can't do anything. But with that being said, I don't think that demographic is the kind that'll do it. When you really do the reporting on the things, you look real deep at those things. You're real deep at those things.
You'd have to be an idiot to work.
And you know, it really goes down to somebody malevolent about what they were doing or not. Fuck-ups happen, but you would assume that if it's planned out well enough, it was some kind of ice slip or something. It's like you really can't do anything about it. That comes back down to it. And just because they did a header doesn't mean you get to shoot them or fucking fire them. You know what I mean?
A recent poll found that 73% of Americans are thinking about quitting right now. And again, this isn't all bad. This stuff is very complex, and we want to be honest. Some jobs
dirty
aren't
players
worth
playing
having.
fucking
we wish
dirty.
Would quit.
Don't care.
It'd be great to see a mass exodus of, say,
well, they'll tell you, hey, well, that stuff really doesn't matter. Then why do you keep the facade?
They can all learn to do
you know what I mean? When Tucker every once in a while comes to say something to you about it, it's like, so when does it turn on all of us? And that's that kind of thing. And that's like, okay, I want somebody with fucking money and power up there to be able to fucking defend that. Because that's that simple thing that fucking crazy starts killing everybody in the room.
And that seems like something to celebrate. But of course, no one in Washington is celebrating. This is a victory for Americans who don't have college degrees.
And you get $400K for families in Mexico is coming up.
So in Washington, they're already thinking of ways
to use mass
immigration to shaft unskilled workers out of their recent gains.
You're not on food assistance or anything like that.
Labor shortage.
An adult single.
Fox, of course it did. The head of Domino's Pizza agrees he'd like to pay his employees less, and he wants to use newly imported foreign workers to do it. How's the White House feel about this? Well, of course, Biden's on board with it. He wants more Democratic voters from foreign countries. So what you're looking at is the perfect alignment of malignant motives. So expect the borders to stay open.
That's the thing at the joke level here.
No
it's like, you're gonna bring in a guy in that middle. I don't care if he's black. I don't give a fuck if he's white. I don't give a fuck.
Why are fewer people choosing
I just don't give a fuck. You know, the guys around here, at least they should. You would think. I can't even say that because I've seen a lot of things amongst my own brothers.
The labor force participation rate of American men. It goes
being
back
criminals
to 1950, 71 years ago. What do you notice? The line goes straight down.
No,
now, here's
Ted's
another
doing,
chart, similar but different.
since
This
I've
is the
been there,
labor
Ted
force
walked in. He
participation
did
rate
the
of
right,
women in
as
America.
good as he
And that
probably
line
could
moves in the
before
opposite
it
direction.
just shit whipped the
So
entire
as you can tell, for
union
70
without
years,
being
we've
a
been
union.
losing men in the workforce.
And you can't trust nobody not to say
Now, many
anything,
call this
especially
progress on the
workers.
assumption that anything
It's like
that is
they
bad and
are
degrading for
not
men
under the
must be good
same
for America, but it is not
subjection
progress.
of that
It's
thing.
problem.
It's like,
The
it's a
average
problem.
man
They're going to
defines
talk about it. They're
himself
just
by
going to
his job.
fucking
Yes,
squeak
men and women are
and talk
very
about
different,
it, think
extremely
about the
different. All
value on a
societies built on
thing, think about their
differences.
house
Every
lectures
society
and
is.
shit like that.
And the thing about men is they
And you're supposed to have politicians that
they
have
tend to
fucking
fall
fielded
apart when
that.
they're unemployed. Not all of them
Not
do,
just use
but
taxes
enough
for
of them
whatever
do
the
that
fuck
we
they
should
want,
be
but
worried when
locally.
we see
Like,
trends like
obviously,
this.
you can't just send it
But
all
it
New
is
York
our work.
taxes to the fucking
Heedless
border.
as always of the consequences of what they do, they've used
Now,
COVID to
obviously, it's some
accelerate
kind
that
of a
trend.
STEM problem. Yeah, you get a
Here's one
percentage
example.
from here.
Who's hurt
But
most by vaccine mandates?
you can't even say that.
Well,
It's
the
like,
group
because the
least
only way to
likely
solve
to
the
get
problem, it
vaccines,
wasn't
of
our
course,
fault,
is
it was
working
somebody
class
else's.
men.
We are here now.
What percentage of New York Times reporters
Fucking
have
here
obeyed
now.
Joe Biden
But it's a
and been
hot mess
injected
out
with the
there.
vax? Well,
It's
probably
like
around
walking in the
100%.
office in the morning and
Among
trying to
men
figure out
who
what's
work in
going on, and
oil
then
fields, the
somebody
number is closer to
just did fucking
10%.
X's and O's, tic-tac-toe on
Massive
that fucking
difference.
billboard this
Massive,
morning.
disparate effect. Like a lot in American life, there's actually a class war in progress here just beneath the surface. When you fire people for not taking an injection, that, by the way, doesn't work, you're not hurting the private equity people, you're hurting blue-collar people, and maybe that's why they're doing it.
Like, they said something
But
about
either
it,
way,
but I've
here's
yet
the
to go to
core
the doctor yet.
The incentives that we've constructed in this country over a long period of time, to be fair, but accelerating recently, have a very specific effect.
And that makes it even worse.
Those policies reward
Doesn't it,
people
Tucker?
who don't want a job.
It's like,
and they punish people who do want a job.
is it going to come? When is it coming?
They degrade work. They strip it of its inherent meaning. And that's a problem in a country that is running out of things that have inherent meaning. They're telling you that your religion means
Is he healthy
nothing.
enough to
Your
come in and do work?
patriotism means
Yeah.
nothing. Your
Then why is
family
the other
means
person
nothing.
that got sick when after
Now
he
they're
got
telling you
sick
your
so
work
sick
means
that they
nothing?
damn near died?
What does
And why
mean
did you hire him
anything?
for
And how
this?
long can a society continue that doesn't have meaning?
Hey,
Well,
Sean
then
Hannity
you
here.
get to the
Hey,
point where you
click
get
here
old,
to
you
subscribe
don't have any
to
other
Fox
meaning.
News
You're
YouTube
still in
page
your
and catch
definition,
our hottest
your white
interviews
work
and most compelling
force, your work
analysis.
history.
You will not get it anywhere
But because
else.
you would get COVID, they couldn't fucking hire you.
From your ranks we will not yield. With axe and claw, the thunder flood will